Chase has been the backbone of my credit card setup for years, but recently I've been exploring another major player, Citi. And what I've realized is that Citi has some unique advantages, where depending on your habits and lifestyles, could outperform Chase cards. So in today's video, we'll break down exactly what's so appealing about both ecosystems, from their strongest cards and optimal strategies to real-world examples, to help you clearly choose which cards will maximize your rewards. Whether you're just starting out or looking for no-brainer cards, both ecosystems offer excellent no annual fee options that help you build a foundation, earn solid rewards, and pave the way for bigger setups later on. Starting with Chase, we kick it off with the popular Chase Freedom lineup of cards, first being the Chase Freedom Unlimited card, a staple that earns you 1.5% back on all of your spend, a higher 3% on dining in drugstores, and 5% when booking travel through the portal. And paired with the second card, the Chase Freedom Flex, which shares most of the same multipliers, but swaps out the 1.5% on everything to just 1%, but giving you 5% in rotating categories up to $1,500 every quarter. For example, Q2 of this year includes Amazon and select streaming services. Personally, if I had to choose one of these, I would lean towards the Freedom Flex, as it's also a card I've had for over 4 years now. Yes, you do lose 0.5% back on general spend, but you more than triple your rewards when spending in those useful categories. In the past, that's included groceries in Q1, Amazon in Q2, and PayPal in some quarters as well, which means front-loading your spend in those categories during those quarters far outweighs the slightly lower base rate. Now, while both cards typically have a $200 welcome bonus after $500 of spend in the first 3 months, the Freedom Unlimited currently has a higher $250 for the same amount of spend, which is like getting half off on your initial $500 spent. However, the Freedom Flex does have a leg up when it comes to cell phone protection, as long as you're paying the monthly bill with the card and going through a small deductible. And both cards include a 6 months of complimentary Dash Pass with credits for non-restaurant orders, which is a nice touch, especially if you're using those services already. Now, that's already a lot of perks on the Chase side, especially when it comes to a low spending limit to hit that welcome bonus and having no annual fees. But how does Citi compare? Well, they're different for sure, as they take slightly different approaches to their cards, giving you a bit more value for your regular spend without the headache of pre-select categories, but falls behind when it comes to the welcome bonus and other perks. Take their competitor to the Freedom Unlimited, which is the Citi Double Cash card. This card earns 2% back on everything, 1% when you make the purchase, and another percent when you pay it off. Now, technically that is 2 separate steps, but if you're following the golden rule of credit cards, which is paying in full and on time every single time, that shouldn't really matter. But that's really it. No special perks, no credits, and no other categories to earn more from. So unless the bulk of your spend is in dining and drugstores, this does give you a bit more value up front. And I say up front because no matter it's the Chase cards or Citi cards we're talking about, all of these cards are actually points earning cards. For example, the $250 bonus and 1.5% back on the Unlimited is actually 25,000 and 1.5 times points per dollar of Chase Ultimate Reward points. And the $200 bonus after a higher $1,500 spend in the first 6 months and 2% on the Double Cash is actually 20,000 and 2 times points per dollar of Citi thank you points. And while both Citi and Chase allow you to cash out these points at 1 cent per point, giving you the original cash back rates, we'll see that when we're building out our setup later on, they could be worth much more. And spoiler, Chase actually has an edge here. Okay, so the Double Cash gives you more value up front with higher multipliers of cashback, but worse when it comes to welcome bonuses, credits, or other categories. Alright, what about the competitor to the Freedom Flex, the Citi Custom Cash card? How does that card compare? Well, first off, the Citi Custom Cash offers the same $200 bonus after spending the higher $1,500 in the first 6 months. Slight edge over to the Chase card here. There's also no other benefits like DoorDash or cell phone protection, but it does share a similar 5% back when booking hotels or car rentals through the Citi portal, and also in certain categories. But the difference here is that you actually get the freedom of choice. No, you don't have to actually select the category, but it would auto apply to your highest spend eligible category giving that spend the 5% back, up to $500 per month. That's great for flexibility. That means you can earn 5% back if you're spending in restaurants, groceries, gas, drugstores, streaming, and more. It's like having a rotating category, but you're doing the rotating based on your spend. The catch? It's only one category per cycle. You'll want to dedicate the card to just one type of spend every cycle. Compare that to the Freedom Flex, which does pre-select categories, but there are typically multiple at a time per quarter, plus the extra 3% in dining and drugstores year-round. In the end though, I would say both the Custom Cash and the Freedom Flex are kind of evenly matched. It really depends on your spending style. Some people even hold multiple Custom Cash cards so they can dedicate each one to each different category. Since there's no annual fees on these cards, it doesn't really hurt to have multiple of them. Alright, so earlier I mentioned the term trifecta, but what does that actually mean? In the credit card world, a trifecta refers to a 3-card combo typically within the same ecosystem that synergize well together to give you maximum rewards. And both Chase and Citi have a version of this. On the Chase side, if you pair both the Chase Freedom Unlimited and the Chase Freedom Flex with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, you'll get a card that will also earn you 2 times on general travel, 3 times on online groceries, 3 times on select streaming services, and no foreign transaction fees when you're spending abroad. The Sapphire Preferred does come with a $95 annual fee, but usually also comes with a baseline 60,000 point welcome bonus after spending $4,000 in the first 3 months, with sometimes a rare limited time offer of 100,000 points for $5,000 of spend in the first 3 months, which is the highest offer this year. That bonus itself could be worth $600 or $1,000 for straight cashback. You'll also get a longer Dash Pass subscription, travel insurances like trip delay, cancellation, and baggage delay, purchase protection and extended warranty, plus a $50 hotel statement credit when booking through the Chase travel portal every anniversary year. But the real magic happens when you combine the cards and their points. Because remember how the rewards on the Chase Freedom cards are actually earned in points? Those could be transferred into your Chase Sapphire Preferred card, unlocking higher value redemptions. First, 25% more value for your points when you're redeeming for travel through the Chase travel portal, turning that baseline 60,000 point welcome bonus to a value of 750. No blackout dates, no restrictions, just kind of using it almost like cash. You can book economy on your own dates and have that flexibility. And second, access to all 14 of Chase's transfer partners, including great ones like Hyatt and Aeroplan. This is where the serious value happens. I personally redeem pretty much all of my Chase points this way. And while cashback will give you 1 cent per point, their travel portal will give you 1.25 cents per point. Transferring to partners could get you over 2 cents per point or more, sometimes 3 to 4 cents per point like in my experience, if you know what to look out for. That means the 5 times back on the Freedom Flex could be 5% back in value for cashback, 6.25% back in value when going through the travel portal, or potentially 10% or more when going through their transfer partners. And don't worry, we'll cover some real-world examples later in the video. Now, if you want to level up even further, there's also the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, a more premium offering from Chase that Citi does not currently have a direct competitor for. Yes, it does have a higher $550 annual fee and currently a lower welcome bonus of just 60,000 points. So the preferred may make sense for more people with the current offers, but if you do go for the premium offering, you'll get a card that will earn even more points, like 3 times back on travel and 10 times back on hotels, car rentals booked through the portal, and Chase dining. A $300 travel credit that's extremely easy to use on anything that codes as travel, lounge access via Priority Pass or their Chase Sapphire lounges, credits for global entry, TSA PreCheck or Nexus, enhanced DoorDash, Lyft, and Instacart benefits, and stronger travel protections including higher caps. But a major standout feature is getting the elevated 50% bonus in value when using your points through the Chase travel portal. That bumps the baseline 60,000 point bonus to a whopping $900 of value. So if you find yourself using the travel portal often, then this card might be up your alley. That said, we gotta see how Citi compares, which I will say is valuable, but probably for a different type of person. And that's with the Citi Strata Premier card, a card I'd actually applied for just a few months ago and have been exclusively using to try and hit that minimum spend of $4,000 in the first 3 months and earning the welcome bonus of 75,000 points. That's a higher bonus than the baseline of the Sapphire Preferred, but lower than the current limited time offer. But where the Strata Premier card really shines is in its multipliers, earning you 3 times points on air travel, hotels, restaurants, supermarkets, gas, and EV charging, in addition to a massive 10 times back on hotels and car rentals when booking through the Citi travel portal. And despite it also costing you $95 a year, similar to the Sapphire Preferred, it includes a $100 hotel benefit, as long as you book a single hotel stay of $500 or more through their portal. That said, you won't find that many extras here. Yes, you do get some forms of travel protections, but you don't get purchase protection, extended warranty, and unlike Chase, you will not get a boost of value of your points when booking through the Citi travel portal. What you do unlock though is the ability to transfer your Citi thank you points over to their list of transfer partners, where just like Chase, you could also target a redemption value of that 2 cents per point, which we'll cover. But first, let's go over a real world example of how this card has been working for me. Over the last couple months, I've spent over $2,300 on restaurants, over $1,000 on airfare and hotels, a few small charges for supermarkets and gas stations, and over $1,000 in the overall 1x category. All of that has earned me 14,940 points on top of triggering the welcome bonus of 75,000 points, giving me a total of almost 90,000 Citi thank you points. That's $900 in straight cashback, or possibly over $1,800 when I'm going through transfer partners. Now, to be clear, this was not normal day-to-day spending for me. It was during a 2-week trip to Taiwan and Thailand where I covered most of the credit card spend for 6 people, getting reimbursed later. But that's the pro tip. Time your new card applications with periods of high spend, like travel or a big group booking. So hitting those minimum spends feels easy, and you get rewarded big for something you would have been spending on anyways. And one more bonus tip that most probably don't notice, especially when it's not listed clearly on the main product page, and that's the 3 times category also includes travel agencies. I found that out when I was booking a couple tours on Viator and seeing 3 times points. So with all of this talk about getting even more value going through transfer partners, how does that actually look? Let's run through a few examples to show what's possible when you go beyond cashback or booking through the travel portal. First up is Flying Blue, where you can transfer from both Chase and Citi at a 1-to-1 rate. Then, book from various cities in North America to Europe for 60,000 miles and about $231 in fees for a business class flight that would have cost you $2,283 each way. That's about 3.42 cents per point in value when you do the calculation. Or go the other direction, flying on China Airlines, a partner within the SkyTeam Airline Alliance, where I actually just helped a friend book for 2 people flying in business class from Taipei to Vancouver for 66,000 miles and $68 in fees per ticket, instead of paying $2,198 or a value of about 3.22 cents per point. So not only are we beating the 1 to 1.25 cents per point value through the Chase travel portal, but even that 2 cents per point target we often aim for. On the other hand, Chase has some standout partners that Citi does not have. 2 favorites, Aeroplan, a great partner for booking Star Alliance flights, and even for short haul, like how I paid just 24,000 points flying between Montreal and Vancouver in lie flat business class. And Hyatt, a crowd favorite, and one of the few hotel programs left where you can still reasonably get values between 2 to 3 cents per point across a variety of hotels. But Citi also brings some unique partners that then Chase does not offer, like 1-to-1 transfers to Asia Miles, giving you flights in business class between San Francisco and Hong Kong for just 84,000 miles and $132 in fees on a ticket that retails for $3,904 each way. That's about 4.5 cents per mile, which is massive. Or, and this is a big one, 1-to-1 transfers to EVA, which no other program has, giving you access to their business class between the West Coast and Taipei for 75,000 miles and about $100 in fees, with much better availability compared to most other programs. With these flights easily retailing $2,631 each way, that's a value of about 3.37 cents per point. This is one of the reasons why I'm exploring Citi more, to expand my options. Even if you're flying economy, you can still get some great value, like flying between Seattle and Paris for 18,750 miles and just under $100 in fees, instead of paying $670 for that same flight, or a value of 3.1 cents per mile. There's a ton of opportunities out out there as long as you're willing to dig a little. Whether it's business class that you would never pay cash for, or just saving on economy tickets, this is where points get powerful. And if you want more examples or walkthrough, check out my guide here where I go through exactly how to search and book these deals. So what's the overall strategy here? When it comes to purely earning, Citi has a slight edge. The multipliers are higher, easier to use, and applies to more general categories, especially when it comes to that everyday spend. But the value per point here is a little bit lower. There's no redemption bonus when going through the portal, and some would argue that the Citi list of transfer partners is a bit weaker compared to Chase, where Chase, on the other hand, has a more balanced setup. Yes, you may earn slightly fewer points day to day, but you can more easily get higher value for each of those points, either through the Chase portal or their stronger list of transfer partners. So if your goal is travel, the better choice depends on your approach. If you prefer convenience, then getting higher value through the Chase travel portal might be better. If you enjoy hunting for high value transfers, it comes down to which partners better fit your lifestyle and desires. Overall though, my preference for someone even remotely interested in travel is to first start with Chase and then jump to Citi later on, as there is nothing stopping you from having cards from both ecosystems. In fact, that flexibility might be what opens up more opportunity. Just make sure you plan accordingly, especially because of the Chase 524 rule, where if you've opened more than 5 new cards in the last 2 years of any issuer, you'll probably be auto-denied for any new Chase cards. Okay, you might have noticed that I've skipped over many of Chase and Citi's co-branded cards, like airline cards often giving you perks like free checked bags, priority boarding, or helping with elite status, or hotel cards giving you free nights or status perks. But these benefits are typically locked into just one airline or hotel chain. In my opinion, these are more expert level cards that come after you have a solid foundation setup, typically using these flexible point cards we've talked about today. Or, if you're a loyalist to one of these brands, then you probably already have their cards anyways. That said, there are a few that are worth calling out. The World of Hyatt card from Chase is a standout. Hyatt's still one of the last hotel programs you can still consistently get solid value per point from, with a relatively reasonable award chart. On the Citi side, the American Airlines cards are amazing if you value those miles, especially since those miles can help you book on partners like JAL or Cathay Pacific, often for fewer points than other currencies. Think 60,000 points for business class instead of 70 or 75,000 points. And of course, the Costco card if you spend a lot there. So while these can be valuable, they're typically better off to enhance your core setup, not as your starting point. That said, you can mix and match cards from anywhere depending on your goal. Maybe your team cashback and stack multiple custom cash cards so you can target several categories. Or keeping it simple with a double cash and Strata Premier so you can earn at least 2 or 3 times points on virtually anything. Or your team travel portal, going for the Sapphire Reserve version of the trifecta to take advantage of that 50% bonus. Or maybe you're like me and team transfer partners, pairing the cheaper Sapphire Preferred with a card like the Freedom Flex to stretch your points even further, and maybe combining with a Citi card. The options are endless, and that's just between 2 of these ecosystems. There are others out there that might be even more powerful depending on your spend and lifestyle. So check out that video next to round out your setup, and I'll see you over there.